Welcome back to Health Studio in New York City, and please join me in welcoming my co-host for the day, Dr. Leana Wen, Public Health Professor, George Washington University. Dr. Wen, so thrilled to have you here today.
Glad to join you, Jody. Thank you.
So let's just get right into it. We just heard two incredible sessions, and I'd really love to get your feedback. You're an expert in emergency preparedness and have been one of the leading public health voices during the COVID-19 pandemic. You're also a columnist for the Washington Post and a commentator for CNN. So with all of that, were there particular points that stood out to you during this first discussion of vaccine development with AstraZeneca, the FDA, and Illumina?
Yeah, there were several things, Jody. One was about the importance of surveillance. I think we've spent a lot of time talking about treatments and vaccines, which is so critical. But then we also have to think about how we got to where we are. And there is still, as we think about the next pandemic, which is not a question of if, but when, we need to be really improving our surveillance systems so that we're able to detect new pathogens in real time. And I really appreciated the points brought up about how this is about detection, and we think about this in a medical context, but also it has serious policy implications, for example, on whether travel bans are going to be effective. I mean, if you have a pathogen that's already spread in the community, for example, the travel ban is not really the answer when there is already such significant community spread that's happening. And I'm also really glad that the conference brought in a regulator from the FDA, the principal deputy of the FDA, because I think that gives us a lot of reassurance in the vaccine approval process that we do have people who are scientists and who understand the regulatory authority of the FDA to protect the health and well-being of the American and really all the people around the world.
I agree, and Amy is really wonderful, so we were happy to have her on the session. So digging in a bit more, for distribution and effectiveness of the COVID vaccine at scale, they mentioned that we'll actually need interoperability, and arguably our US health system is not quite set up for this. So the speakers alluded to the fact that countries like the UK will probably have an easier time in stratifying patients and ensuring adherence to the vaccine. So just getting your opinion, how could the US get to where we need to be with the vaccine in such a short period of time? Let's say like spring 2021.
Spring of 2021, I don't think so. This is going to be a very long and complex process. Let's say that best case scenario that we're able to get emergency use authorization for a vaccine by the end of 2020. But then we're not going to be able to get to approval for general use probably until early, at best, 2021. Then we have to think about how we're going to manufacture hundreds of millions of doses of this vaccine, distribute it, because we know that it's not just the vaccine that saves lives, it's the vaccination. And people are going to have resistance to the vaccine. There will also be a lot of logistical challenges. I mean, to date, we've had a lot of challenges with even getting something as basic as swabs out to everyone. And so the idea of getting vaccinations to people all over the country is going to be very challenging. And we have to rely not only on hospitals and community health clinics and public health systems, but we also have to look at workplaces. We also have to look at nonprofits, churches, and other sites to really meet people where they are in distributing these vaccines.
So really great points, Leana. So for the CVS Aetna session, let's switch gears a bit. It was spoken a lot about that COVID changed consumer behavior in really all sectors, but specifically healthcare. And we all know about the adoption of telehealth on the rise, and most agree that's here to stay. But what other ways do you think consumer behavior has changed due to the pandemic, or really has it not?
I think it has changed in many ways, and telehealth is the example that we all point to, although there is one clarification, actually a term that was used in the session that I liked a lot, and it was this concept of omnidirectional, that the brick and mortar is not going to go away, but that we now have increased tools at our disposal. And I see this as an emergency physician. I mean, I also practice telemedicine, and I've seen how there are a lot of things that can be converted to telemedicine. There are a lot of things that also may just be done differently, as in maybe there are new ways of going into people's homes that we may not have thought about before. But still, these brick and mortar structures are going to be there. It's just a question of, can we repurpose them differently? Can we think about our healthcare again on this continuum so that we are meeting people where they are with the needs that they have? So I actually see this as a very exciting time. I think that there are ways for us to reimagine healthcare, to see this time of crisis as an opportunity for us to rebuild something better, while always making sure that we do not neglect those who are the most vulnerable. One fear that I have, if you will, is that the innovations are going to be driven by those who have resources and who have the means. And I just want to make sure that whatever it is that we do at the end of the day does not leave out those in our society who already face the greatest brunt of disparities and have the greatest barriers to care.
Thanks, Leana. I'm happy that you brought that up. I think that's a really important point for our audience to note. So we're going to be back with you in just a bit, but our audience, please get ready for a couple more keynotes, and then we'll be back with Dr. Wen to recap those sessions. Enjoy.